right, let's talk about you for a minute. You are a good guy, right? And it's not just me and your mom that think so. You're a good man, you're a solid friend, you're loyal, you don't like to hurt people's feelings, and if you do accidentally hurt somebody's feelings, you probably feel kind of bad about it. You are, like I said, you're a good dude, and you probably have a bunch of attractive female friends that have told you, oh, you're such a catch, and they can't understand why you don't have an amazing girlfriend, though they may or may not be willing to date you themselves, which may or may not be telling. And there are a zillion guys out there all over the internet that are telling you that that's the problem. The problem is that you're a nice guy. Chicks don't dig nice guys. You got to learn how to be a jerk because nice guys never end up getting the girl. And I've got some bad news for you. They are absolutely right. The truth is, single women can't stand nice guys. And if you live in this world, you probably have seen it with your own eyes, time and again, that the nice guys, the really like sweet guys, never get laid, right? So let's start with reality and work out why you have that observation. So we'll talk about that first, why women don't want to date nice guys. Then we're going to sort out the truth and the lies of all of these ads and videos that you see about these, magic, manipulative, sneaky, under-the-radar tricks that'll get any woman, anytime, anywhere, to immediately fall to her knees and beg you to take her to bed. So we talk about what's true about those, what's not true about those, and then we're going to talk about what kind of a nice guy actually get women. And I'm going to do a lot of teaching in that part. I want to really help you understand that there's a particular way of being a nice guy, of being a good man, that women are extraordinarily attracted to. They're extraordinarily attracted to certain authentic qualities that you've got that really sets you apart, I promise you. And that men like you, men like me, don't need to use the manipulation. And there's reasons that we do it. There's reasons that we can get suckered into going down that path. But I really want to show you what you can do instead to be the kind of nice guy that women would crawl across broken glass to have as her boyfriend, that a lot of women don't even believe exists. But it's rarer than finding a diamond while you're out walking in Central Park that's like the size of a softball. And it would be exciting for most women to meet a man like that. So we're going to talk a lot about that, and then I'm going to go through what I believe are the 4 keys to being more attractive than you have time for. And these are the 4 keys to be more attractive than you have time for with integrity, right? Being the man that you want to be. And when I say more attractive than you have time for, that's exactly what I mean. I mean, you'll be attractive enough that there'll be enough women in your life, enough women that you're excited about spending time with, whether that's a girlfriend or just a lot of women that you're dating, that your life will be full enough of sexual satisfaction that you just won't really have time for more, which I think is attractive enough. I'm not saying you're going to get every woman anytime, anywhere, but I am saying that you'll be able to fill your social calendar. Okay, fair enough. I'm going to do got a lot to cover in that section, and when we're all done with that, I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm going to be teaching in my new program that I'm going to be starting next week. It is definitely not for everybody, so I'm going to tell you what it is, what it isn't, and then you can make an intelligent decision about whether it's for you. And then, of course, I'm going to tell you what it costs, and then you can make a very informed decision about whether or not you're going to join me for it. All right, so let's start with why women hate nice guys. And the first thing this is like the piece that if you can kind of do the mental jujitsu and understand what I'm talking about here, it all becomes perfectly clear. All right? Here's the truth about why women don't like nice guys. Because you're not actually that fucking nice. That's the truth. You're not actually that fucking nice. It's a transaction that you are perpetrating upon her, right? You don't go around just like walking up to random strangers and say, hey, can I buy you a drink? Right? You buy a woman a drink because, which is a very nice thing to do, but it's a transaction. You want her attention. You buy her a drink, she gives you some attention, and then you're hoping that when she gives you that attention, you can prove how nice you are, even more nice, and then eventually maybe you'll get to the pussy. right? You're actually trying to give her nice in exchange for sex. Now, there ain't enough nice on the planet for her to want to make a transaction like that. Like, if you're trying to do or be anything, it's like, there's some guy who's really funny. Everybody likes somebody who's funny and we can all laugh. But what if, like, you see this guy and he's desperately trying to make jokes and jokes and jokes in order to get something from you? Like, he's being funny in the hopes that when he's done, you're going to loan him a bunch of money, right? So this is the way it feels. It feels like you're doing this nice thing, or you're trying to be funny, or trying to do whatever you're trying to do in order to get something. And she feels it. She feels it, man. You know, people know when they're being sold to. There are people who can sell so exquisitely, right, that you don't even know you're being sold. And the next thing you know, you're just like, yeah, man. So it takes a certain kind of sociopath to really be good at that, right? But you have to understand that there really is a transaction going on here, that you're just not that nice to everybody. So that's the first reason. And it's also why, you know, the pickup artist guys and the dating coach and all these guys always tell you, you got to kind of play it cool, right? You got to pretend you're not really that interested. So they have all these things, you know, where you're like, there are all these lines, you know, the negs and this kind of thing, where you're basically trying to communicate, I'm not that impressed with you. I don't really want to sleep with you. You know, I know one of the things that I learned from one of these guys was you and I would never get along. And by the way, probably everybody teaches that. I'm pretty sure Neil Strauss came up with it. He came up with most of this stuff. I'm going to talk about Neil in a minute. But anyway, you and I would never get along. And the idea behind that is that I'm not trying to get you, and therefore you don't need to fear a transaction going on here, right? And so you'll spend more time with me, and it'll be cool. You know, I got to go in a minute because, you know, my friends are right over there. You're kind of trying to convince her that you're not just trying to be nice to get into her pants, right? And as far as that goes, it's pretty functional. And it's not functional because she's super interested in guys that put her down, right? It's not functional because she's super interested in, you know, I got to go in a minute. It's functional because you're letting her know kind of directly that you're not trying to transactionally give her something in order to get something, because you're trying to say, well, I don't really want it. I don't really want it. So why would I be trying to get it? Right? And it's not that she's interested in guys that aren't interested in her. It's that you've set yourself apart a bit and she's willing to just hang out. She's willing to hang out, talk, laugh, and maybe have a drink with some guy who she thinks is not trying to do something to get her. Of course, it's exactly the opposite. You are trying to do something to get her, but you know, that's the tricky piece, right? And the other problem with this nice guy thing is that you make bad assumptions about what she's going to think, you know, a nice guy is, right? What happens is when you're trying to be a nice guy, you see this woman, you're like, oh my God, she's so beautiful. I gotta say something that'll impress her and set myself apart from the other guys. I want her to think I'm really awesome. And you know, by the way, women hate awesome guys, right? It's not that you're trying to be nice. You're trying to be awesome. You're trying to let her know you're just like the best, man. You're just like awesome. And you're trying to do that in exchange for something, right? So we make bad assumptions about it. I certainly made bad assumptions about it based on, you know, things that we learned when we were little kids that we just believed that just ain't so once you're adults, but it's hard to kind of unwire them. So one of them is that, you know, women don't like a guy who wants to fuck them, right? Like if it's clear that what you want is to have sex with her, then that's going to be weird because she doesn't want to have sex with you. She doesn't even know you. And so, you know, you need to hide that. So the nice guy is a guy who's like, I would never, you know, be the kind of boyfriend who would let you go out on your own where all these, you know, other men, because you're so pretty that all these other men would hit on you, which just means like, wow, okay, the guy is possessive. You know, like guys say shit like that, or they say, yeah, you know, I believe that, you know, two people should be in love before they make love, because I take that kind of thing kind of serious because I'm a nice guy, right? And for women, that's kind of repulsive because that's not really what they want. That's not really what they want. So when you think that's what they want, what you're really trying to do is protect her from this kind of slut-shaming idea, this idea that, you know, women who like sex can't admit that because then people would judge them. So they need to hide that. And so you buy into that and you kind of take her further down that road that she already hates being on in the first place. She hates the fact she has to hide the fact that she likes sex in order to not make men insecure or, you know, look like a bad girl because, you know, she has a biological urge, right? I'll lay this out for you just so you kind of get where I'm coming from about how wrong we can be when we're trying to be like the nice guy. There was this really cool study, really interesting. They went into all these women and they gave them this enormous list of very random questions about themselves. But two of the questions, kind of randomly placed, one of them were, how long would you need to know somebody before you loaned them the keys to your car? And then, there's 50 questions. And there's another question in there, how long would you need to date a man before, the shortest amount possible before you'd be willing to have sex with him? And, the difference was quite stark. Women would much sooner have sex with a man than loan them their car. Much sooner, right? And listen, women believe in love at first sight. Some women do. Many women do. Many men do too. But, this idea that you'd be swept off your feet, there'd be this great guy, and the answer could be under 1 hour. We hit it off. It's clear that he's the guy for me. And we were, out in the back, couldn't even wait to get home, started doing it in the car. So that's what's a real possibility for her. And you're trying to convince her that, you're this nice guy. It's a real record scratch. It's a real record scratch. This is why women don't like nice guys, because we're making assumptions. And it's not just about sex. There are all these assumptions of what you think she's going to think are a nice guy. And as long as you're playing this game in your head of what do I need to say to convince her that I'm not one of those douchebags, that I'm a good guy, as long as you're trying to calculate that, you're likely to make a lot of bad decisions, a lot of bad guesses, and you're going to be putting these things forth, and she's going to be like, oh my God, this guy is just trying to buy me with his niceness. And that's insulting, right? That's insulting. That's vaguely saying, I don't think that much of you, right? So, and we don't, of course, that's not what we're trying to do. That's not intentional, but it's how it comes across. It's how it comes across. So look at the flip side of this to get a deeper understanding of it is, what do the not nice guys have that is attractive to women? What do the not nice guys have that gets them laid? Maybe that'll be a useful thing to know. So pickup artists, the dating coaches, they got this thing I said, they feign disinterest, they feign, they got better things to do, and, I'm not that impressed with you. And that works because she actually does let her guard down. She actually feels like this guy's not trying to get something from me. Now, I personally don't think it's ideal, but it certainly, there's just no doubt that it works. If you watch some of these guys that lead boot camps walk up to women in bars, it's just crazy how fast they can be building rapport and having a good time with this fakery. So yeah, it absolutely works. A big part of what they teach is all about sub-communicating that you have higher social status. And they use these tricks and hacks like body language. You stand a certain way, and you do these things so that she feels like you're a guy who's used to having a lot of beautiful women compete for you. And there's a lot of biology and evolutionary psychology that goes into this stuff. I mean, some of this stuff is really, really ingenious. I'm not going to lie. It's ingenious, and it makes her feel like you're a high status man, and she wants to be with a high status man because we're wired biologically to want high status people in our lives and to make romantic bonds with them. Men, by the way, exactly the same as women this way. When you have a beautiful woman, right, you want to put a lot of pictures of her on Facebook. That's the way it is, right? You have a hot girlfriend, you put a lot of pictures of the two of you together on Facebook, right? In fact, if you meet a super hot girl in a bar and there's this picture of you where it looks like you guys are like totally hitting it off, and you're like, hey, had a great time last night, and you put that picture up, what do you think you're doing there? What do you think you're doing there, right? That's a social status thing. People do that with their vacation photos. We humans crave this, status thing because it's part of our whole survival mechanism. I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole, but that's what they're getting, right? And here's what they're getting from jerks and douchebags, right? And by the way, sometimes the pickup artists, they just want to feign that they're jerks and douchebags. Here's what they're getting from a jerk or a douchebag, right? First of all, again, this guy's not trying, he doesn't really like women, right? He thinks women are kind of bitches and whatever. And so he's walking in there just like, yeah, I'd fuck her, but I don't want to talk to her, right? I wish she would turn into a pizza when it's over, whatever his line is, okay? So what she's getting from this guy is if she happens to be looking for sex, this guy isn't going to judge her because he already has, right? And this guy isn't going to be a pain in the ass the next day. You have to imagine now a woman is off in a bar because she really wants to meet a guy and, you know, make out and have a hot night, or even she wants to go out to the bar, she wants to meet a guy, she wants to take him home, she wants to fuck him and never see him again, right? The jerk or the douchebag, it's not who she wants to be with. Look, she doesn't really want to be with the douchebag, but if her choice is the douchebag or the guy who's like, if we made love, I would love you forever. I would buy you flowers and I'm the nicest guy. This is her worst nightmare. Her worst nightmare is she has sex with you, even if it's good, but perhaps it'll be bad. The point is, she's out for casual sex. She's not looking for her next boyfriend that night, right? And the last thing she wants is some guy who is impossible to get rid of or makes her feel like a horrible bitch for having slept with him. So you slept with me and now you won't even call me back. You're horrible. I'm going to send you really mean text messages because you were mean to me, right? Now, women experience this a lot. And the women that didn't experience it have friends that experienced it, went, look at what this guy just texted me. It's a terrible thing to be stalked or to just be, you know, insulted because you had a biological urge and some guy misconstrued it as meaning like, you're my girlfriend now. By the way, fellas, I've done this. I've been that guy. I mean, it's just a truth of what happens out there if you don't really get what's going on in a woman's head. So don't be that guy. But also, you don't need to be the jerk or the douchebag because that's a compromised position for her. That is a compromised position for her. She doesn't want to be with that guy. It's just, she has very little choice. And there's the cool kids effect. Cool kids effect, completely related to the status thing, but we want to be hanging out with the cool kids. And if you can install the bulletproof and congruent, like it's obviously true, the bulletproof congruent belief that you're better than her, you're going to trigger some level of attraction. So, you know, that's, again, this is the not nice guy who's like the mean girls back at school or the popular kids that were sitting at the lunchroom table, right? And you know you don't get to sit there because you're not one of the cool kids. Then what you really want to do is sit there. It would be cool to be their friend. You can be like, oh, they're mean. I don't like them. And then one day they're like, hey, Timmy, why don't you come sit with us, dude? And you're like, oh my God, the cool kids want to hang out with me, right? And you want to go hang out with them because they think they're cooler than you, so they're kind of a little bit mean to you. And of course, you know, you've probably seen the movie. There's that one guy who's like, they're like, you know, hey, Waldo, come hang out with us. And he's like, no, you were mean to me before. And I don't believe that I want to be mean with you. I'm going to go sit with my nerd friends instead, right? It's like a real bold stand that, you know, we'd all like to take. But there's also this kind of urge of, man, you know, yeah, I want to be accepted by the cool kids. So there's this cool kids effect of guys who really believe they're just better than the woman. Now, like I said, that works. And if you believe that you're better than most women you meet, that you're those same women that you also want to have sex with, if you really believe you're just better than them and you could get them anytime, anywhere, certainly men that believe that, you probably already get laid a lot and you're not even watching me right now, right? But it's not the ideal. You don't really necessarily want to be that guy because it's very hard to have a great, beautiful, intimate relationship that way, but you probably get laid a lot, right? If you're that guy, if you are the cool kid. And then I just want to circle around, like, can you learn to fake this? Can you learn to do what Neil Strauss does? And, you know, if you don't know who Neil Strauss is, he's the guy that wrote The Game, and many people called him the greatest pickup artist that ever lived. Maybe he is. I do know that most of the stuff that you read out there, most of the dating advice that you read out there is either directly stolen from him or it's, you know, some piece of his stuff that somebody was like, yeah, this is the piece that I think is the important piece, and I'm going to kind of expand on that. But he started so much of this, and he's a bit of a genius. I got to say, he's a bit of a genius. So he goes in there and he's got like all of these lines, what he calls, you know, the demonstration of higher value, where you do this thing and she thinks you're the cool kid, right? She thinks that you have the social status. So, and these things work for him, okay? And Neil, not the most handsome guy in the world, he's not the ugliest guy in the world, but, you know, he's short, he's bald, he's, like I said, not the most handsome guy in the world. And, you know, he can walk into a bar and just, it's amazing how effective he can be. if Neil and I both walk into a bar and our goal is a little contest, who can walk out with a hot girl faster, he's going to win every time. 100 times out of 100. He's phenomenal at this, right? And the question is, could you pull it off? Could you do what he does? And the answer is, well, some of his students do, right? And the way they do it is by practicing it thousands of times. They practice it, it's a huge amount of work to get it just right, to get it just right. Neil himself practiced it. Every one of these guys who's like a great pickup artist, they practice for thousands of hours. They go out every night, talk to woman after woman after woman until they can like get their act down perfectly. My question is, and it's like, if you really consider this, if it takes that long, if it's that hard to do, if it takes thousands of hours of practice, what if you put that work somewhere else? What else could you have done for thousands of hours that might make you super attractive to women? And brother, there are plenty of things that you could have put work into that would make you insanely attractive to women. Like, learn to be a great guitarist and then join a band, right? I mean, if you don't think that works, again, you don't live in this world. There are so many things you could do to authentically be the man that you want to be if you're willing to put in that kind of work. And the other thing is that Neil invented this stuff, right? And so when he was doing this kind of social engineering thing, he's a particular kind of guy, right? And I can't say that he's unhappy doing what he's doing, because I don't think that his end goal is to create a beautiful relationship. I think his end goal is to be this kind of social scientist. And, you think about all the things that he's done in the books that he's written. He's a big self-experimenter. I mean, this is kind of his passion that he's walking down. He may very well be happy doing this, but I don't know that you learning his tricks, rehearsing them thousands of times in order to deceive some woman into having sex with you is going to make you a satisfied person. In my experience, hanging out with a lot of the students, these guys, I don't think it's going to make you happy. It might get you laid, it might not. But it might get you laid, but I don't think it's going to make you happy. So let's just talk about what you've seen out there. Some of it's true, but bro, you've been lied to so much. And I put duh in there because I think that's like, so these guys who sell these tricks and methods of manipulation to get women make millions. So clearly there are people who are willing to suspend their disbelief and as a matter of hope and believe that what some of these things that they're saying are true. But essentially, a lot of it just bald-faced lies. So, one of them is, I was just saying, is it's easy. Just do this, it's easy. You say these 3 words in this order, and that's it. She's going to be yours, man. It works immediately on, anyone right away. It's so easy. Anybody can do it. Are you just internally? I don't need to tell you that that's horseshit. It's just, that's not going to work, man. It's not going to be easy. It's a lot of work to kind of battle your internal programming so that you can deliver that pickup line just so. And it's not easy. And if it was easy, then all of the students of these guys would just immediately be with Playboy centerfolds, and you know that they're not. It's magical. It's kind of like the same thing. It's magic. It's a group of government scientists. I actually saw this one. A group of government scientists got together and discovered this amazing form of mind control, which they realized was so powerful that they had to hide it, and then they hid away until it was recently discovered. But I can't share it with everybody because it's, if it gets into the wrong hands, who knows what might happen, right? So that's just a lie, right? It's bullshit. It's bullshit. And like all of these things, this Harvard scientist, and there probably was a Harvard scientist in that mix, and he probably said something, but what he said did not imply what they're trying to make it sound like it is. So it's not easy, it's not magical, and it's not foolproof. Okay, it's not this like any woman, anytime, any woman. It doesn't matter if she is your daughter's best friend who loves her boyfriend, is engaged to be married, and thinks older guys are yucky. And it doesn't matter if she's, a lesbian or just, hates guys that look like you. Just, it works on every woman every time. Doesn't matter if she's rejected you in the past and told you, flat out that she would never date you ever because she thinks you're a big asshole. That's obviously bullshit. And like I said, I don't want to belabor this point because I think you already know. Money doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. Money, if you're rich or poor, it doesn't matter. This is probably the closest thing to the truth that you see. You see it over and over again, and it's probably 90% true in the context that you're interested in. The fact is, you can buy a woman with money, right? Direct transaction, cash for sex. That's the fact. So money matters a little bit. And we also know that there's a certain percentage of women who will trade their body for the opportunity to be with a rich guy because that's who they are. That's who they are. Now, they went through some bad experiences to become that person, right? They've got a really jaded outlook on men. They have a jaded outlook on life. They are under the the misapprehension that money can buy them happiness. They're not happy. By the way, you meet these women, they're not happy. You see, that kind of fat, slimy guy in the VIP with all the gold chains and the 9 bottles of Cristal and the hot chick with him. Look at her face. Okay, is she smiling? Is she having fun? If she's dancing with her girlfriends, right, at the time while he's like, smoking a cigar, she's having fun. But if she's with him, she's got a stone look on her face. I mean, she's not happy, okay, because things don't buy happiness. Things don't buy happiness. I like nice things too, but that's not ultimately what makes humans happy. And so these women, they're few and far between. If you think about all of the beautiful women if you have some friends who are just, ravishingly beautiful, or if you've got a good friend who dates a woman who's ravishingly beautiful, and you know her a bit, you've talked to her, I mean, there's no way that she would rather date some rich guy than a guy who she actually cares about. I mean, there's just so few women like that. Are they out there? Yeah. You've seen them, right? You've seen them. But for most women, money's kind of a small factor. Looks don't matter. Looks really matter. And I talked about this in one of the previous videos. I think if you look like George Clooney and you walk into a bar, every woman in there is going, I hope he comes up and talks to me. I hope he talks to me, right? It gives you an incredible advantage if you're good looking. It really does. And that said, if you're shy and socially awkward, you can kill that first impression immediately. And I know a ton of super handsome guys that are absolutely clueless, can't get laid to save themselves. And interestingly, quite a few of these guys that teach pickup fit that description. Funny enough, a lot of them are really, really handsome. I mean, some of these guys, one of them looks exactly like Johnny Depp. There's just so many of these guys are incredibly handsome. And one of them is actually a pretty good friend of mine. I said to him, dude, you will never be able to convince guys that you can teach them how to get women because you are a male model. You are so good looking. They're going to think, oh, he can do it. That doesn't mean I can do it. And he actually got very insulted and upset. And he was like, man, I was a virgin until I was 27. I was really socially awkward. I couldn't get laid to save myself. I used to walk up to women all the time and get blown off all the time. And now, of course, he gets laid like a rock star. And I think, of course, that's why he started teaching is he got so suddenly so good at it. Why did he get so suddenly so good at it? And why you might not get the same results? Because he's really, really good looking. And of course it helps. Of course it helps. There are women that don't care about looks at all. There are women who really don't want to date a good looking guy specifically because they think he's going to be stuck up and arrogant and full of himself. And they're just not interested in being in a relationship with that kind of guy. Some of the most beautiful women that I know have said that to me. They're like, I have no interest in pretty men. I just have no interest in that at all. But I think it's safe to say that women generally, like you, have a type. If you are her type, and if you're extremely good looking, you're much more likely to be her type, then you've got a gigantic advantage. But if you are an incredibly good person, if you're incredibly cool, and she gets to talk to you for a minute, she can very, very quickly discover like, wow, wasn't that into this guy at first, but now, damn, I can't stop thinking about him. And that's a reality. That's a reality. So looks won't stop you. They won't. In fact, I bring him up every time, and I feel bad about it because he's not a bad-looking man at all. But you may know my friend Sean Stevenson. He's kind of a famous guy. And, he was born with a disease that severely physically disfigured him. He's 2.5 feet tall. He's in a wheelchair. He's severely physically disfigured. And I remember, by the way, this goes back quite a few years before I met him. I was talking to some of the guys who teach one of, I think, the best boot camps out there for taking men out to bars and teaching them how to approach women, the guys from Real Social Dynamics. And I was talking to one of the instructors. I don't want to out him. And he was saying, have you seen this Sean Stevenson guy? He's this little weird guy in a wheelchair, and he's really cool. He's incredibly inspirational. I think he's like one of the coolest guys I've ever seen. But he's going around talking about like how he gets laid a lot and like how he can teach men how to be more confident and get women. And dude, it's literally impossible that this guy could get laid. This is what one of their instructors was telling me. He was like, oh, looks don't matter, right? Anyway, I know Sean really well now. He's like a brother to me. And honestly, this guy, women go crazy over him. Any woman anywhere? Hell no. Hell no. I mean, he's had his heart broken many, many times when he was relating with a woman who was really into him, but was like, the wheelchair thing, dude, it's not for me. I can't go there, and it of course, that hurt his feelings. And even, by the way, had experiences where there were women who fell in love with him, said they were in love with him, had torrid sexual affairs with him, but then broke up with him later because they were like, I can't see marrying a guy who's stuck in the chair, right? So, I mean, he's had his heart ripped out time and again, just like you, just like me. I mean, we've all suffered heartbreak. Every hot girl that you've ever seen has had her heart broken. Every, great-looking guy you've ever seen with beautiful women around us has heart broken. We all have, right? It's just part of the human experience. But Sean is married to one of the most beautiful, I think she's just incredibly hot and just sweetest, most intelligent, amazing women that I know, who's also one of my best friends now. So yeah, man, if looks are holding you back, just channel Sean, because it really isn't the thing that ought to hold you back. And this is the lie. This last one is the one that, by the way, there's thousands more of these lies, but these are the ones I want to talk about today. But this, to me, is the most nefarious. This is a really sneaky one. It's evil, and you want to believe it. You want to believe it really badly, which is, it's not your fault, man. It's not just women are mean. Women are mean. They broke your heart because, you're a nice guy. You're a nice guy, and she's just going off with those jerks. And so she's mean. And when you said that, you would love her forever, and she was like, no, thanks, dude. That was just fucked up. And you got to get back at her. You got to get back at her, man. So learn this magic trick that's foolproof and easy. And the next thing you know, man, she'll be bent over. You'll give it to her in the butt, because then you can really, get even and show her who's boss. And it's okay for you to be angry, and it's okay for you to learn this secret, sneaky trick, because she started it by being so mean. So again, fellas, I know it's so tempting. I get guys commenting on my blog all the time with shit like this, saying, oh, women, they're evil. I was married to this woman and I treated her like gold, and then she dumped me for some other guy, and women are mean and they deserve what they get. It's not her fault and it's not your fault. If you can just realize that the alternative to it not being her fault it's your fault. It's not the way it works. It's nobody's fault. It's just the way human nature is, the way attraction works. First of all, it might be true that the woman that broke your heart really is a horrible bitch who deserves what she gets. It might be true, because there are horrible women out there, just like there's horrible men out there, right? There are huge assholes in the world, and you've met them, and the penis or the vagina does not in any way make them more or less qualified for being a big fat asshole. All right? You got assholes of every variety. Yes, there are terrible women out there, but most people are pretty decent. I tell you, most people you get to know, even people who strongly disagree with you, if you're a a rabid Republican and you get to talk to a Democrat, you'll discover he's probably a pretty good dude. And if you're like, Republicans are evil and we need to help the poor people, Democrat, and you sit down and you talk to a Republican, it'll blow your mind, man. He's probably a pretty good dude. It's like most people, when you get to know them, they're actually pretty good. But, we all have insecurities. We'll have, we've hurt people by accident, inadvertently, because, just because she's not attracted to you doesn't make her a bad human. Just because she's more attracted to that other guy doesn't make her a bad human. Most people, you get to know them, actually pretty cool. And in my experience, most women are delightful once you can get past your preconceived notions about the fact that she broke your heart. And even nice women sometimes break guys' hearts, just like even nice guys have broken women's hearts, not because they wanted to, but because there's no reason. Listen, I've broken up with women and broken their hearts. And it's a terrible, terrible feeling. But was it my obligation to stay with her so that I wouldn't be mean to her, even though I didn't like her that much anymore and I really wasn't interested in continuing the relationship? And I hope you understand that the answer is no, that nobody wants that kind of a pity party anyway. You don't want that, right? So women are not mean, all right? They're not bad, and they're not stupid, and they're not driven by all selfish motivations any more than you are, any more than all of us are. If you get that, you'll be miles and miles ahead, and the rest of the material that I want to teach is going to be a lot easier to get. I want to talk about how to be the great catch. This is the nice guy that women are dying to meet. I mean, women are actually dying to meet a nice guy who's not going to be transactional about it. So I just want to, it's a little sneaky because it's not that easy to do, right? It's not that easy to do. Even though you're a good guy, it's not that easy to do all the things I'm about to talk about. But here's how to do it. I mean, you don't need to, really, honestly, you don't need to buy my program. Just take a look at the next couple of slides. What I'm going to be teaching you, you put in the work, the kind of work that you'd put in, the thousands of hours learning some pickup lines so that you could say them like just so, and all the way from, high nice shoes to you're in my bedroom. I promise you, this is less work. All right. So the first thing you got to do is clean up the transactional thing, and this is super sneaky and super difficult to do because if you really do want her very badly, like you actually man, I would just fucking do anything to have sex with her, then it's really, really difficult to not be in your head trying to think, what do I need to say or do to get her to like me? But the key here, the big trick to this is to notice it. To notice that when you say, can I buy you a drink? You're trying to, get sex. When you say, hey, nice shoes, you're trying to get sex. And when you say, oh, I'm not impressed with you, you're trying to get sex. Like, notice when you're doing it, and when you can do that consistently, when you can notice it in yourself, you can then unwire it. You can then unwire it. Then you can just really be like, oh, okay, I'm doing it. That's unbelievable. When you notice it consistently, you actually can stop it. And then you can walk up to a beautiful woman that you really, really want to have sex with, and you can say, hey, nice shoes, and she won't feel the transactional element because it actually won't be there. It actually won't be there. And man, that's a huge key. It doesn't mean, of course, she's going to be attracted to you, but that's step one. The next thing is the ability to maintain your freedom under the weight of her sexual power. And I mean, the weight of her sexual power is like, when a woman is super attractive to you, this woman who you're just crazy about, maybe you already know her, maybe you just saw her and you're like, she's exactly your type. And it's hypnotic. It's like a trance, it's so powerful that it can make it like, you can't even talk, right? Certainly been there many times, but if you can take a deep breath and maintain your personal freedom in the face of it, and just not let it knock you off your horse, then you can be the great nice guy. You can actually be a nice guy that the woman is dying to meet. Now, this stuff that I call freedom, this I believe is an unassailable freedom inherent in every man, right? Everything else that you think is not freedom is actually a lie. Like when you say I have to, it's almost always bullshit. You don't really have to do anything, right? When I say to my wife, My mom called, I have to call her back. That's a lie. I don't have to. I really don't. But maybe I feel a strong urge to because I love my mother or because I feel guilty if I don't, right? I have all these motivations inside of me, but I don't actually have to. I could actually just disappoint her and not call her back. The truth of my unassailable freedom allows me to act differently when I do call her back. And the truth of your unassailable freedom will allow you to act differently when you do talk to this woman. You really need to get that you've got to. I'm going to, kind of work through a lot of this stuff in the program I'm going to be doing so that you can understand and do some exercises that'll help you kind of get to these truths and make this easier for you. Obviously, I don't have time to teach the whole thing today, nor am I inclined to because I'm doing a program about it. But this is the stuff that you can actually learn yourself. But by the way, I'll go back. Will this let me go back? Might let me go back. The other thing about this sense of freedom is that it is the opposite of your hiding identities that you use in order to protect yourself from her beauty, from her sexuality, from her eroticism. We pretend that we're somebody else. We pretend we're cooler than we are, right? In order to protect ourselves from being hurt by the madness of our desire and our fear of rejection, right? But when you can get past that and own your freedom, it really makes all the difference in the world. This is a big one. It goes back to the transactional thing and all the rest of this. But your happiness and your emotional state can't be affected by her decisions about you, right? So if you go out tonight and you go out on a date with this girl, let's say you've met, you've hung out, you've met online, you're going on a date with her, and if she falls for you and you guys have sex, you've had a great night, but if she doesn't like you, then shit went wrong and you failed and you had a terrible night, then your self-esteem is on the line, right? And when she feels that, it feels like enormous pressure. Like, oh, I get it. He's not going to be happy unless I do what he needs me to do. I have to be a certain way for him to be happy because he's not self-generating his own happiness, right? So your emotional state and your happiness can't be generated as a reaction to what she does or doesn't do because that feels horrible. That feels terrible. When a woman feels that, it feels like being with this guy is oppressive. It's hard fucking work to be with this guy because he's hanging on every word. When I say something nice, he's like, huh? And when I say that, I say, ooh, right? It's like a puppy. She doesn't want to date a puppy. She wants to know that you self-generate your own good mood, your own happiness, your own sense of freedom, and your own emotional state. And that's what a good guy who's a great catch is. I want to talk about need versus want. Particularly once you start getting from the second date to sex to relationships, need versus want is a really big deal. I just put this in because I had a coaching call yesterday, and the guy I was talking to said, he's dating this woman, some stuff happened, he's afraid she might break up with him. And he said to me, I really need her now more than ever. Like, I can't lose her right now. I need her right now. And I said to him, all right. And he said this to her. He was like, I need you right now. I need you. I said to him, look, man, you don't. You don't need her. When you say that you need her, it's a lie. It's a terrible lie because you're putting responsibility for yourself on her, right? Now, it's really, really hard to be a human. It's really hard to be accountable for ourselves. It's hard to get by. We've got to work hard. We've got to put food on the table. We've got to deal with our own emotions, our own parents and friends and stuff that goes on. It is not an easy thing. It is no easy thing to be a human and to be responsible for yourself, right? So when you say to somebody, I need you, now not only do I have to be responsible for me, but I got to be responsible for you too. And it's a burden. It's a huge burden. Women don't want to be needed. They do not want to be needed. And you don't want to be needed either. It is a gigantic burden to be needed by somebody else. When you need somebody, you are this thing that's known as needy. And everybody knows that needy's unattractive, right? We all know that, right? So when you have this feeling, or God forbid you actually say it out loud the way this guy on my coaching call did, when you say to somebody, I need you, you're putting an enormous false burden on them. The truth is that if she breaks up with him, is he going to die? No. Hell no. Is he going to be unhappy? Maybe for a little while. But 5 years later, what's going to happen? He's going to be with some other girl who he never would have met if this first girl hadn't broken up with him. He would have never met this other girl. He's going to be in the middle of this new adventure, this new relationship. He's going to think, best thing that ever happened to me was that girl left me. That's the truth. That's the God's honest truth of what's going to happen if she leaves him. So he doesn't need her. He doesn't need her. What he does is he wants her fiercely. And when you can get the difference here, it's critical, because when you're doing this thing where, like, if she doesn't choose you, you're going to be really unhappy, right? That's a needy thing. That's like, I need you to choose me or to have sex with me in order for me to be happy at the end of this night, right? That's needy, and it's not true. You actually could be happy at the end of the night if you took responsibility for your own emotions. Here's what women do want, though. They want to be wanted really fiercely. They want to be wanted badly. It's sexy. It's a fucking turn on to be wanted really badly. Here's the thing where I think guys screw this up. I think humans think, I think it's just a common misconception, that when you want something enough, it ultimately becomes, at the very top, it becomes need. Like, need is just extreme want. And it turns out, no. Need and want are two totally different things. Need and want are totally different things. See, I need water, but water's not that tasty, right? What I want is a glass of wine. That's what I want, but I need water, right? So needing something doesn't mean you may not even want what you need. You may not even, you might need an education. Certainly, it's easy to see that you might not want one, right? It's a bit boring sometimes. I didn't care for elementary school myself, but I needed it. I didn't want it, right? So these are really, really different things. Women love to be wanted passionately, but they hate to be needed. If you can get the difference between this, then you're on the road to being that kind of a good guy that women so rarely get a whiff of, that when they find him, they get all like giddy and excited and start talking to all their friends about it. And then you have an opportunity to forge something real, something beautiful, right? Not just sex, but like she actually digs you. The most interesting man in the room. I thought I would put this in because I was just reminded of it recently. There's this kind of idea that if you're the most interesting man in the room, then, all the women would want you, because the implication being, of course, and it's just insulting and transactional again, that if you're the most interesting man in the room, women would want you because that's how she's sorting the room. She's looking at the room and she's like, I'm going to fuck the most interesting one, okay? And that's just not the case, right? So I remember the Pickup Artist Mystery, who had the TV show and all that. He said to me, he said over and over again, this was one of his lines. He said, if you say one interesting thing, people say, that was interesting. But if you say like 10 interesting things in a row, they say, he's interesting. And I thought, wow, that's cool. And it is cool. It is cool. That does make you interesting, and it is cool. And a lot of the pickup stuff is built around trying to make you look interesting or funny or cool, right? So it's true that, if you have interesting stories to tell, or you have some cool game that you can play, there are these like little psychological games that you can play with women in bars. This is like one of the things that a lot of the pickup artist guys teach. If you've got some cool gimmicks, or you could do some awesome magic trick, you very well might be the most interesting man in the room. But is it true that you have to have those things in order to be interesting? No, absolutely not. All you have to do is have something in common, or something that you're passionate about, and you can immediately be the most interesting man in the room. Is it true that being the most interesting man in the room is the thing that works? No. It may work on some women, and it may work if there's nobody better to be had. But what if you're like actually, the smartest guy in the room, or what if you're the most athletic man in the room, the most fit man in the room, and the woman you're trying to get is a fitness trainer or a yoga instructor? Who do you think she's going to be into, right? What if you're the most spiritual man in the room? You think the most spiritual man in the room is going to get laid more than the most interesting man in the room? Because I think he is, right? I think he is. Depends on the crowd, right? But again, a bunch of hot yoga instructors in LA, he's probably the guy that's going to get it. But there's a lot of things that you could be. The most authentic man in the room, the most caring man in the room. I think if you asked a woman, who she'd rather hang out with that night to have a few laughs and then go home by herself, the most interesting man in the room, or the biggest hearted man in the room, she might say, I'll take the interesting man, please. But if I say, well, who do you want to go home with, have sex with, and then date for a year, possibly get married to, the most interesting guy or the guy with the biggest heart, there's no competition there for 90% of women, right? Here are the 4 keys. Again, some of these things take a little work, but if you can just do these things, if you can put in the time, this will make you more attractive than you have time for, right? You'll have enough women in your life that you're really into, that you're like, wow, she's awesome. I'm psyched to be dating this woman. I think she's hot and she's fun to be with. Like, you'll have more of that in your life than you'll have time to have more of, okay? If you can do these things. That doesn't mean you're gonna get every woman. Again, that's nonsense, but you get some great women, right? And if there's one woman that you're currently obsessed with, maybe it'll get her, maybe it won't. But when you're obsessed with one woman, the funny thing is that goes away once you meet some other woman who's completely different, like, great in a totally different way, attractive in a different way. This one's a blonde, this one's a brunette, or just smart in a different way, or has interests that you think are awesome in a different way. And then you forget about that first one completely. Nothing like love to cure heartbreak. So the first one is freedom. And I talked about that already, so I'm not going to go too deeply into it. But if you can validate and understand your internal freedom and drop your hiding identities, whether your hiding identity is pretending to be nicer than you are, pretending to be a jerk, pretending to be high status, pretending to be the cool guy, if you can drop that and pursue your own happiness and agenda, or you meet this woman, you're out to have a good time, you meet this woman, and you're going to have a good time whether she does or not, right? And you're inviting her in to come have a good time with you. That works, okay? That's super happy for her to be with a man like that. So you actually have that freedom. That's inherently what's real, right? But you've got some bad beliefs, some mental programming, and just some thought habits that are holding you back from recognizing it. So that's first. Second is sexual confidence. Sexual confidence is huge. In terms of creating the difference between, wow, he's cool, I like hanging out with him, and he's cool and I feel kind of, a little bit squirmy in my pants right now, and I got this fluttery feeling and I think I might want to have sex with him, right? Sexual confidence is a really important piece of this puzzle. And sexual confidence isn't just about being confident that you can rock and roll in bed, though that's great. Sexual confidence is being confident about the fact that you're a man, okay? It's the confidence about your penis and the fact that you like vaginas, and confidence in believing that your sexual desires are good and that you don't need to hide them from anybody, and that your body is good and you're not ashamed of it, even if it's not perfect and your dick isn't as big as you'd like it to be, or you're overweight, or whatever your thing is, but you like yourself, you like your body, you're okay being naked, right? This is pretty important. Now, if you're not okay being naked, it's not necessarily a deal breaker, but this is, if you've got it, this is one of the keys to being incredibly attractive. Like knowing that your sexuality is good, that like wanting to do really wicked things to her all night long is good. And you don't need to feel guilty about it. You don't need to feel bad and wrong about it. It's a totally good thing. She wants that in a man for 2 reasons. One is she loves sex and she wants sex. And 2 is if you're really comfortable with your masculinity, it gives her permission, it makes it easy for her to be comfortable with her femininity and the fact that she really wants sex, and it makes her more comfortable to be naked in front of you when she's not totally, in love with her body. And believe me, the hottest woman wishes, there are aspects of herself that are different than they are, because that's what it is to be human. Masculine presence is the third one. Presence goes in 2 directions. One is emotional availability, being present and real, not behind hiding identities, but being willing to be real about what you're actually emotionally feeling and being available to be moved by her in a real way, right? Being emotionally available, being authentic with who you really are, being willing to be vulnerable and tell the truth about your fears, your aspirations, relating to her as a real human. This is an incredibly attractive thing for women to experience. They get it oh so rarely, except with their closest friends. But they almost never get it with a guy that wants to fuck them. Almost never. And the other half of presence is compassion, meaning you give a shit about what's going on in her brain, and not in the, if I could just solve this Rubik's Cube of how to get her to have sex with me, does she want me to be cooler? Does she want me to be kind of artistic? Maybe she needs me to be tough and macho, or maybe she wants me to be the sensitive type. Like, as long as you're in that conversation in your head, you're not being present with her, you're being present with your internal dialogue, right? Presence means being emotionally available with yourself, but also looking at her emotions and her feelings and being curious about them, being genuinely interested in who she is, being genuinely interested in who she is past the fact that she is the keeper of the vagina, right? And then the last thing is worthiness. This is a huge one. I mean, again, you don't need all of these. There are women that'll look past any of them. If you have incredible masculine presence, you may be like, this is my guy. And even though he lacks some sexual confidence, I can go to work on that, right? But if you've got all of these things, man, you are incredibly attractive if you've got all of them. Worthiness, again, I think there are women out there who, like the nerdy, shy guy who thinks that, and thinks like, I'm going to blow his mind right now. I know women like this, beautiful women who, find this guy and, they want to blow his mind because he's kind of this nerdy guy who's like, oh, I don't know. But that's rare, honestly. Woman wants to be with somebody who thinks that he's worthy of her attention. Now, as long as you're being Mr. Nice Guy and trying to show her you're nice in order to get her affections, you are proving to her that you don't believe that the real you is worthy of having sex with her, of having her as a girlfriend. Again, a lot of the paid program is going to be around figuring out how to do this trick. Like, if you don't currently feel worthy, making yourself feel worthy, making yourself feel like, yeah, fuck yeah, I deserve a super hot girl because I'm an awesome man. I am a great guy with a lot to offer. Like, if you don't genuinely believe that, it's slow going, right? Is it impossible to get laid? No, it's certainly not. You can manipulate your way into it. But if you want to authentically be yourself and have an authentic, real relationship with a real woman, fall in love and all that good stuff, and you've got these 4 qualities, life will get very, very easy very fast. This stuff really works powerfully. Okay, I'm going to just tell you quickly about the program I'm going to be teaching so that you can decide if you want to join me for it. It's called The Catch, the good guy that gets all the second dates, all the sex, and all the relationships that he wants. All right, I'm super excited to teach this material and to run this new program. And I would love to have you along. And once I explain what's in it, you can make an intelligent decision as to whether or not this is something that you think would be for you. So all right, let's get right to it. What is in the program? The first thing is the action steps, the to-do stuff for becoming a desirable man that women want to date, bed, and wed, versus just a random passing thing or somebody who she just wants to laugh with. So the first part of this is getting your internals right. If you want to become that guy, then you've got to get your internal thought process in line, and not that kind of thought process of, how do I impress her? What do I need to say? And that constant conversation internally of, what does she need from me now? What does she need from me now? But rather to become more self-referenced through the entire thing. And that requires a lot of mental reprogramming. This stuff isn't easy, right? But if you do the work, if you're willing to show up and do the work, you will absolutely get the results. And this is beginning with managing your beliefs. The biggest problem with getting your internals right, which is actually, oddly enough, one of the easiest to fix, but the biggest problem is that you have all these beliefs in your head that just ain't so, right? Like, she probably, doesn't want to have sex with me right away. There are these little beliefs inside of you that aren't so, and they really hold you back. And then there's another series of beliefs that we're going to install that will support you in, being your best self when you're with her, being the kind of man that women want to be with. And what's interesting about the subject of changing beliefs is that it can be one of the simplest things, actually, that'll get you really immediate results, because you can imagine that you don't believe, let's say, in UFOs, but then you walk out tomorrow morning and there's a giant flying saucer in the sky and it slowly lands, a bunch of green men get out, your beliefs change on a dime, right? Now you've just got to deal with the new paradigm, and everything that you thought about that is going to change. And what you think about what's going to happen tomorrow and in the future is suddenly up in the air. Everything's in question because the aliens have arrived. So everything is going to be different now. And that's the way beliefs are. Once you can clearly see, once I can show you where these beliefs fail, you can really dissolve them pretty quickly. And when you can install the new beliefs just as quickly, you'll get some very quick results on that part of it. And the next part is worthiness. This is super key. I mean, if you want to end up with a great girl, a girl who just blows your mind, a girl who every morning you wake up and go, I can't fucking believe this is what's sleeping next to me. If you want that girl who's amazing, the woman of your dreams, then you've got to internally believe that you're worthy of her. It's one thing to say, gee, I wish I were a billionaire, but it's another thing to really believe that you've got what it takes to make that money, right? It's not the same thing. So wanting it and believing you're worthy of it, not the same thing. And this is going to be a bigger project. We're going to be doing a lot of work around this because it don't come easy. This part is going to be is going to require you to show up and do the work. And to do that, I've designed a bunch of exercises and reprogramming techniques, but you got to do them. You got to do them. Just hearing about it and getting the insight, the aha, is not enough. If you show up, you spend your money on this stuff, and you spend your time on this stuff, I really hope that that means that you're willing to go along and do the work with me. There will be homework. There will be homework. If you're not going to do the homework, it's going to be a bummer. Okay. You might find the program entertaining in any case, but I don't think you're going to get the same amount from it. The next part is how to be the best date ever, the great guy that she can't stop thinking about at the end of the night. And again, by date, I mean quality time. Maybe you met online and this is the first time you're meeting over coffee or for a glass of wine. Maybe it's an actual date, right? You met in a bar, you got her phone number, you called her up a couple of times. Finally, she agreed, yeah, Thursday night, let's get together. And you go out to a club dancing, or you meet for a cup of coffee, whatever it is. Or you're at a party, a bunch of people, you're talking, and then suddenly you find that you're alone with her, but it's the quality time. Now it's just the two of you. That's the date. You want to be the guy that she just can't, she tells her friends the next day, oh my God, I met the cutest guy, I just can't believe it. Right? So to be that guy, you've got to translate the awesomeness from your internal to the external. So the first part is about getting those internals right, but this part is about how that shows up in your interactions with women, and specifically with a woman that you're super attracted to, because that's when you can get knocked off your horse, right? You can be super cool internally and then get confronted by this incredibly beautiful woman that you really could see yourself having a great relationship with, and now you feel like, I don't want to blow this. I don't want to blow this, and that can fuck everything up, right? So we got to talk about how to translate that to the external, and part of this is to figure out how to not make it work, how to deeply enjoy your interactions with women, and this is a piece that I'm really good at teaching. I've worked with a lot of one-on-one clients around this and gotten great results for them, but it's super key if you want her to have a great time, for you to have a great time, because to the degree that you're kind of nervous and like, fuck, does she like me? Is the degree to which she's going to be like, awkward, get me out of here, right? So if you want her to be just having a ball, that means that you're having a ball. Or if you want her to be deeply intrigued and kind of like, whoa, this is sexy, then you have to feel deeply intrigued and like it's kind of sexy. It just doesn't work any other way. And when you get this right, the good news is it's super fun, right? I mean, dating should not be like a fucking job interview. It should be, something that you really enjoy, that you look forward to. And that's what we're going to work towards. And again, we're going to do exercises and practice techniques for maintaining your unassailable freedom. Your unassailable freedom. In other words, when this situation happens where you feel like, wow, there's a lot to lose here if I fuck this up. This girl is amazing. That's when your default, your fears, want you to put up your hiding identities, where you try and like pretend you're cooler than you are or smarter than you are or say something impressive about yourself. And that shit blows it, right? That shit blows it. Anytime you put up that hiding identity, it blows it. Inside, your unassailable freedom never actually changes. And so the key is to clear away that bullshit, and that's going to take some work. Again, exercises, practice, homework. And then we're going to go over the key mindsets that make her see you as real boyfriend material, really understand how that works. And then, of course, spiking her attraction and excitement to be with you, right? You want her to feel excited and thrilled, and that is a matter of revealing those parts of yourself that are exciting and thrilling, which is your birthright as a man. It's what it is to be a human, right? I mean, there's this sense that we have that people experience things really differently. Like if you were, an Olympic athlete, incredibly handsome and chiseled, that you would have a different experience than if you were, an accountant who never got outside. That your basic humanity would be any different is in fact, even if you were a woman, that somehow your basic humanity would be different. Your basic experience of pleasure and pain and ecstasy and horror and fear of death. At the bottom, we're all the same. We all have these parts of ourselves that are the parts that are exciting and thrilling. You gotta learn how to spike that, how to trigger that, how to meet her in that place. Next part is getting sexual, and this is all about sexual polarity and coming across as a man, not just as a cool person, right? A cool person she wants to hang out with, she wants to be best friends with. You want to come across as sexual as a man, right? And so this is the part where we move into seduction. And this is stuff that I've taught before. I'm going to teach from a slightly different angle this time, but I think I've got some great shit for you on this. And if you've seen my stuff on this, it's great shit. Seduction is something that women adore. Women love it when you get this shit straight. It begins with sexual confidence. That's got to do with body image and that stuff, and that takes work. We'll be covering some of that with the internals, but your sexual confidence has to do with your confidence in your maleness, and in your sexual desires being welcome and not something that you need to hide. The next part we're going to cover is 9 ways to make her feel and enjoy your masculinity so that she has no doubt that she's in the presence of a man. Now, this really figures into, again, your masculine identity and the ways in which men naturally display that. We're going to go over 9 of them so that she can feel your masculinity. When you go to this place inside, you make it external, she can feel that she is with a man, and that's a great feeling for her. Being in the presence of something that's masculine is sexy, it's powerful, and she's going to enjoy that, and you're going to enjoy that. You're going to feel more free and more like yourself when you do these things, which is part of how you're going to be triggering her sexual desire, right? And this is about flirting and about seduction and about those little triggers that make her feel that excitation of, I hope this moves towards sex. I wish you would kiss me now. And then we're going to go over 10 ways to make her feel feminine and girly when she's in her presence. In other words, your masculinity triggers her femininity. Now, for a woman, most of her day, most of her week, she's just a person, right? She's just a person. She only feels like a woman, she feels gender female when her sexuality is triggered. So when she's at work all day, it would be inappropriate for somebody to trigger that. And that feels like harassment. She's trying to do her shit, right? She's trying to get ahead. She's trying to be just like you. And she is just like you for that part of it. But, then, when she has some sexual fantasy, she's clearly in her feminine, right? When something allows her to feel her femininity, to be in that state, she loves that. Women crave that. Just like you crave feeling like you're in your masculine. She really craves this, and she's going to love that you can do this for her. It really will make her feel great about being her true self when she's with you, because her true self is feminine, right? Actually, the neuter thing, the thing that we have to put on for the rest of the day and pretend, sex isn't a thing, that's not the truth of who we are. The depth of who we are is highly sexual. So it's very comfortable. It's very comfortable men have this feeling that maybe it would be uncomfortable to make her feel sexual and feminine. It's the opposite. She's going to love you for it. And then I'm going to go over what I believe, what I've discovered is the master key to sexual polarity. A lot of people talk about sexual polarity. David Deida coined the term, and it's a really useful idea. And Deida and a lot of other people have talked about how that manifests, what that really looks like. But I really believe that I have found the master key to this, the real master key to creating and maintaining sexual polarity. I'm going to share that with you. And then we're going to go over managing your full sex life and multiple sex partners, dating multiple sex partners. This is a really important piece of the puzzle. Even if you think that you only want one girl, you're going to need to learn this part, and I'll explain why in a minute. But the first part of this is going to be establishing, a friends with benefits or type relationship or non-exclusive sex partners that are win-win relationships. In other words, you meet a woman, she's beautiful, you're sexually attracted to her, and as you spend time with her, you realize, she's not the one who's going to have your babies, right? She's great, you love, but you don't want her to go bye-bye. You don't want to never see her again. The sex is great, you're having fun together, but she's probably not your final destination, right? So there's a way to make this a win-win and to move that into a non-exclusive sexual relationship that you can both enjoy, that she enjoys, that you enjoy, but where you both have the understanding that you might be seeing other people, right? So we're going to go over how to manage multiple sex partners with integrity. A lot of men do this without integrity, right? It's called cheating, right? You've got this girlfriend and this girlfriend and they don't know about each other. That's not cool, right? So there's a way to do this with perfect integrity, and women respect it. Women dig it. I have it's a very, very rare woman who is not cool with this, right? So there's a way to do this with great integrity, and I'm going to teach you how to do that because you're a good guy, and this is all about being the good guy. Balancing your desires and her emotional needs like the good man you are. And that's the other half of this, right? Balancing your desires, and your desire is, I'd like to continue having sex with her. It would be a bummer if I couldn't, right? And maybe you can't, right? Not every woman is going to be up for a non-exclusive relationship. Most, the vast majority are. But your desires, balancing your desires, which are, I'd like to continue having sex with her, and I'd like to continue seeing her because we're having a great time, but I also, want to see other women. So that's your desire, but you got to balance that with her emotional needs, which are absolutely as important as your desires. Everybody's got to get their needs met, right? Her sexual desires, your sexual desires, her emotional needs, your emotional needs. You got to figure out how to balance that. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And then finally, I just want to explain, as I promised, why you need this, even if this isn't for you, right? You might be saying, well, Alex, I don't plan on having sex with anybody until I get married. I don't have sex with people that I don't know I'm in love with. That's fine. That's cool. Maybe you're only comfortable having sex with one woman at a time. So, you need to end this sexual relationship before you enter the next one. Totally cool. But you still need to show up for this part and learn this. I promise you, you'll get a ton out of it, because part of this has to do with dealing with your internal neediness. When you want something badly enough and you keep wanting it more and more, and you want it more and more and more, eventually it feels like you need it. But it's an incredibly disempowering false belief that fucks you up in all relationships because it makes you feel more needy. When you understand how to balance this stuff, there's a lot of stuff in this that's just going to make you come across as more powerful and more free as a man when she meets you, whether or not you intend to pull the trigger on it, whether or not you intend to use this stuff. This stuff is really, really critical to having a full and beautiful sex life, even if it's with one woman. Next part is setting up the foundations of a relationship and true love. Okay, so we've kind of gone through these other things, but from the very beginning, with every woman, I like to think there's a possibility that she's the one, that there could be something incredibly magical in this moment where we first meet and smile at each other. Maybe we don't end up together, maybe we end up having sex and never see each other again. Maybe she ends up, your soulmate. So from the very beginning, you want to be able to set that up. This stuff is critical, it's important, and it's going to really set things apart for you. It begins with having the vulnerable courage to find truth together. You don't find truth together the day you meet, right? That doesn't happen. But you begin orienting on truth. You begin orienting on truth. It's very attractive. It's very courageous. And it's actually, she'll feel the butterflies, and so will you. There's something about this vulnerability of kind of knowing the truth is there to be found that's extremely powerful. Second part is showing her why you're the man that she always dreamt of, why you're that guy that she always dreamt of. Every woman has in her mind a Prince Charming, this kind of perfect man that she dreams of. And there are certain aspects of it that are really fundamental, and there are certain aspects of it that she just got from Disney movies, right? But there are ways of being that trigger these for her and let her see that you are that guy. You are, potentially her soulmate. And then a huge part of this is understanding how to help her to become her best self when she's with you. This is worth the price of the whole program. And I've done so much work around this, again, with so many of my private clients. And I just think I'm maybe the best in the world at teaching this stuff. I'm super good at teaching this stuff and getting results for men. And it's fucking critical. Because here's the thing, you've experienced this, that we're the shittiest, we're our shittiest selves usually with the people we love. Think about how you are like with your parents or your siblings, and you're shittier, you say shit to them you would never say to a friend. We can be really shitty with the people that we love. And if you know some married couples who've been together for a while, you've probably seen that most of them, not all of them, but most of them are really shitty with each other. They say things to each other. You're like, fuck, they're kind of just quick to be mean because they know, well, he's stuck with me anyway, You don't want that woman, okay? You don't want her to show up as her worst self. You want to show up as her best self, right? And there's a way to organize this from the beginning so that it's more enjoyable for her and more natural for her to show up as her best self, not her worst self. This is gold. It'll make your whole life so much more beautiful, and it's so much more fun for her. It's so much more fun for you. It's just better for the both of you. I should probably just teach a course just on this piece. And how to make a woman fall in love. Like, what are those things that, make the difference between, I want to have sex with them and this is exciting, to I could see spending my life with them. How to just make her fall in love and feel all, that giddy, beautiful feeling. And then we're going to go over the essential elements that you want to pre-plan, put in there for keeping the passion fresh and alive. Most relationships don't stay exciting. And then, you start thinking about, should I end this relationship or should I just live with boring because we have kids together now? But there are ways to keep it so that it's fresh and exciting, and so you never feel like, gee, I wish I could cheat on her, or maybe she's thinking the same thing about you. There's a way to avoid that, so we're going to go over that. And then finally, the building blocks for building towards true love and mutual surrender. I've quoted this before, I'll quote it again, because I love it. I think it's just hits it right on the mark. John Perry Barlow, who said the difference between love and true love is the difference between a really, really big number and infinity. They're fundamentally different. They're fundamentally different. And this falling in love thing is beautiful. It's obsessive in the most gorgeous way. It's a great feeling inside. But true love, where you really bring it all and set it down on the altar in total surrender to each other, is a different thing. In my estimation, knowing an awful lot of couples, I think most people never experience it. And that's a shame, because when you get this, you win. That's how you win the game of life. That's the big win. And I really want you to be able to have the chance to experience that. It's the most important thing that I teach. Very briefly, I'll tell you what it's not. It's not an easy button. This is not, easier. It's not an easier way to get laid than the manipulation stuff. I don't think it's a whole lot harder, but it does take a whole lot more courage. I mean, the thing with using manipulation and tricks is you don't have to put yourself on the line. There's something about that that's comforting, right? A lot of men feel like, I have to have some kind of trick, because why would she ever want to be with me, right? They've got some self-esteem issues there. And they'd rather use a trick because it requires so much less balls. Like if you use somebody's pickup line, if you use the Neil Strauss jealous girlfriend routine, it doesn't work. That's Neil's fault, not your fault, right? That shit didn't work, right? It's not like, wow, I was rejected. So there's a way of doing this that I think is as effective as the manipulation in the short term, as effective as the manipulation in the short term, and requires as much work, not more work, but as much work. It does require practice, but it also requires a lot of courage. And if you don't have that courage, this might not be for you, right? You really do need to show up. And it's so fucking worth it, man. I hope I didn't lose you on that. It's so fucking worth it. I hope you man up for this because it's fantastic. And the other thing that I'm not going to cover a lot, initially I was thinking I wouldn't cover it at all, but then I realized I actually have a lot to say about this, is cold approach and how to just, pick up a girl, how to walk up to her, a stranger, beautiful woman sitting at the bar with a friend. How do you walk up there and start a conversation? I'll warn you, I am far from the best in the world at this. I've hung out with some of these pickup artist guys who truly, they're fucking artful with it, but they're doing it in a way that sets them up for failure down the road. And that's not cool. So I want to talk about this a little bit. I'm going to give you some exercises to do around this. But fundamentally, we're not going to do too much of that. If that's really like the core of what you're looking for, if like your whole goal is you're too scared to walk up to women, there's probably better programs out there that deal with just that piece, right? With just that piece. This is really dealing with 10 minutes later and on is the focus of this and the rest of your life, right? But I will talk a little bit about that first 10 minutes because I think it's essential. I've got some pretty cool exercises that I think will make it a whole lot less scary and a whole lot more fun for you, because ultimately the thing with cold approach, walking up to a woman that you don't know, is that if it's a drag, and you don't currently have a girlfriend, then every time you go out, it's a drag, and that's not what it should be. It should be super fun. I love cold approach. It scares me, by the way. I still get an adrenaline rush. I definitely feel very nervous about it, but I love it. That's how I met my wife and many of the women that I dated, so I'm not totally unfamiliar with it. But I love it, and I want you to love it, and I think I can teach you how to love it. All right. I hope you'll take the next step with me and join me. If you've listened to all of this, chances are it resonated and you want to join me. If that shit didn't resonate, you can close the window now. But I really hope that you will join me for the live program. And yes, it's going to be live. The format of this thing is that I'm going to do it over the next couple of weeks, and we are going to co-create it. We're going to make it together. And my plan is to do a series of webinars and question and answer sessions. It'll probably last about 4 weeks, may go for as long as 8 weeks if it has to. I intend to show up and answer the questions you've got. So if you have a lot of questions and I don't cover it well, then I'm just going to keep going until it's covered. So I'm expecting it to be about 4 weeks, could be as much as 8 weeks. And my plan is to do the sessions on different days of the week and at different times of the day in order to accommodate the maximum number of time zones. Chances are, if you've got a busy life like I do and like most men do, you will not be able to show up for all of them. They'll all be recorded, and then you can watch the recording and you can type in your questions on the page where the recording is, and I'll try and cover them in our Q&A sessions. I hope you show up live for as many of them as you can, because when you show up live, we get to work one-on-one, and I would love to work one-on-one with you with your specific sticking points. I super encourage you to do everything you can to show up for as many of the live sessions as you can. Like I said, I'm going to make them sometimes on the weekends, sometimes on the weekdays, early, late, to try and accommodate as many of you as possible to at least get one session in live with me, but all of it will ultimately be recorded. And then when I productize this and get transcripts made and all of that, you of course will get access to all of that. You probably want to know how much it costs, and it is going to cost $59.16. It's going to cost this much because from Rice Asian House, I ordered Thai food last night for my wife and I. We ordered in, and that's a great date. One of the best dates out there is to order some Thai food and hang out at your place, maybe watch a movie. So you are going to pay one date, which I think is fair for you, right? Fair price for you and a fair price for me, right? We both get one date's worth of value for something that I hope will be all the rest of your great dates for the rest of your life. So because Rice Asian House decreed it to be so. Your price will be $59.16 for this program. And I hope you'll jump in, man, because I'm excited to have you with me. The alternatives are, one, to allow yourself to continue to be the kind of nice guy that doesn't get the girl and be lonely and not get the girl you want, the kind of woman that really juices you up, that lights you on fire, that you wish you could be with. Man, don't give up on getting everything you want in life until you've really tried hard to get it, is my opinion. I don't think you need to give up. I think you can get it. I think you will get it. And of course, you're a good man. And guys like us, man, we shouldn't have to fake it. It fails. It fails every time because either she figures it out, usually before sex. That's what I've seen, is that most of these guys who are fucking amazing at picking up chicks don't get laid as much as they manage to get, make outs in the bar. She figures it out. There's a discongruence between who you are and this act you're putting on. She figures it out. And it's even worse if she figures it out after you've had sex a couple of times. Yeah, you got the pussy, but then she ends up being embittered by men. She just feels like men are incredible manipulators, like she totally fell for it, and she feels humiliated, she feels stupid, she feels like she was used, and then every guy that talks to her after that has got to cross that hurdle, and that's your karma, man, that's your fault. You don't want to do that. Or like I've seen some of these guys in long-term relationships, they've been with their girlfriend for years, and they're still gaming her. They're still gaming her. They're still, doing the little things to keep her off guard, make her feel like, she's not that cool. And in order to maintain her addiction to trying to get what she feels like she can't totally have, it's shitty to her and it's shitty to you, man, because you never get to experience the authentic love of a woman. You don't want that life, man. To not experience the authentic love of a woman that you adore and to feel her adoration back authentically is one of the top experiences that this life has to offer in this brief window in which you are alive. Fake guys only end up with fake women. They end up in fake relationships, and that's not you, man. You're a real guy. Be the real man. Show women that you are the catch that in your heart you already know that you are. And join me because I think we're going to have a lot of fun doing this, and it's going to make your life a more beautiful place. So I hope to see you inside. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this material. Whether you join me or not, I hope you got a ton of good stuff out of it, and I hope you use that stuff and practice that stuff to build the life of your dreams.